right. Is everybody ready for week 38 of What Did Prince Do This Week? I know I am. What about you, Dean?
I'm here. I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's go. That's right. All right. We got Real Line, the DJ. Good morning, Purple Fam.
Good morning.
We got Kimberly Desmaris from West Fargo, North Dakota. Hope all is well with the Purple family. We got Drea Dances. It's the last day of summer here in the States.
Oh, wow.
That's right. And we want to live it up. We got the AT Aliens in the house, and we have Cassandra Bradley from the sunny ATL. We got Andre from the D. What up, though? Loving this extended summer weather, but at the same time, I'm not ready for it to go away, Andre. But you and my husband are ready for this weather to go away, but not me.
I like this.
Yeah, it's the vibe that I had this morning. I was like, this is how I'm feeling. And we got Christina from Minneapolis. Yes. Oh my God, everybody's looking forward to autumn. Okay. And welcome, Chris Bournet. I was just talking to Michael Dean how I suffer from SAD, so I get depressed in the winter and in the fall and all that because it's, you know, it's not hot and sunny. It's gray.
What does SAD mean? Is that an acronym?
Yeah, it's like seasonal affectional disorder or something like that. That's what it stands for. Got Barbara Y. It's been 6 weeks or so since you've joined us live. Thank you so much for taking time out to come back.
They let you out? Just playing, Barbara.
Yes, just playing, Barbara. You know us. We have to have a little fun. And we got Mooches from Philly. Always love seeing Mooches from Philly because I get to see Vanity. Thank you so much for your avatar. We got D68A. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll make sure that I check it. Thank you for the heads up because sometimes I don't be checking nothing. Email, social media. I just be out in the world trying to reclaim when there was no digital tools. We got Melvin Rush II. Oh my God. Right. From North Carolina. And we got Tanja from DC. Yeah, I need this humidity to go away. I hear you guys. And then, thank you, Chris. I don't feel alone. You understand. Not many people understand, but yeah, okay. Tanja also understands because a lot of people go like, yeah, really. No, it's actually pretty real. And then we have Adria, also an AT Alien, ready for all the beautiful fall colors. And yes, thank you, Drea Dances, for making sure I got that acronym right. Seasonal affective disorder. That's what SAD stands for. And we got Man Ray 10 in the house. Loving this piano in the background. And Barbara was like, no, Michael Dean, they did not let me out. Nick Belden is here. We can get this party started. And we also have Dr. Claw 77, where the purple meter is high. 4 bars. That's what I'm talking about, Dr. Claw. And then we got Sakia. Good day to everyone. Oh my God, visiting hometown of Mississippi today. And it's scorching. I was hoping C. Lee was going to join us today, but I don't know. He always busy. Then we got El Michelle shouting out from Brooklyn. And we got Kim, our timekeeper, who's sleepy. You can't be sleepy, Kim.
Wake up.
Yeah. And we got Panic Survivor. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, let's see what Tanja's excited about. Going to see October London tonight. for the first time. I don't know about October London. Do you know about October London, Michael Gaines?
Is this the guy that came out was kind of like a Marvin Gaye-ish type of vibe? That's funny if it is. Somebody just called me about this gentleman yesterday.
Okay.
I haven't heard the music. I have heard of it.
Love the name. Cool name, October London. And they'll be performing with Maxwell and Jasmine Sullivan. That's a really great lineup. And Tanja, I'm going to see Common on Monday with Pete Rock, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm going to see Layla Hathaway as well next week. So I got 2 shows going on. And then we got Vanessa. And Tanja said, yep, that's him.
Oh, that's him. Okay. Yeah.
And we got El Dabari. Hello. All right. And Vanessa says, I'm going to see that show next Wednesday. So it must be in the tri-state area, I guess.
Man, where can I come there?
And Dr. Catrice Austin, welcome, said, I just watched that Maxwell concert on YouTube.
What up, doctor? I'm seeing you all over social media these days. I love it.
All right. And then we got to say, oh, okay. Karan's birthday. Today's my son's born day. He's 28.
28?
So, yeah.
Damn, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. That's a great age.
Grown kids.
Yes. I'm going to tell you. So I took my cousin when she was visiting me to get her nails done, and she's only 16. And I remember the nail technician told her, honey, you need to enjoy your age. And I was okay. I never heard that before. Right. But yeah, that has stuck with me. So I hope that your son enjoys 28. So important. Awesome. So Dr. Catrice is also going to the Common Show. I'm going to the early one because, I can't go to the late one. What? Okay. I'll send it to you again, Celie.
Oh, Celie. Yeah, get in here now.
Yeah. Yes. Come on now. And hold on one second. Give me a second.
Oh, we got some birthdays. We also Chris Robb had a birthday.
Oh, right. Chris, yeah. Happy birthday.
Clips from that. And also, I don't know if she's in here, but Robin, her birthday is today as well. I saw that this morning.
Awesome.
Facebook.
So, okay, Celia, I just sent you an email. Hopefully you got it again with the link and everything. And let's see. Yeah. So definitely birthday to Chris Robb. We always got to say happy birthday to Chris Robb, one of the baddest musicians on the planet. Yeah, if you ever have an opportunity to see Chris Robb live, do it. And then I can't remember. I think I said hello, Chad. But if not, we always want to say hello to our Minneapolis peeps. And then Cassandra's going to see, oh my God, Stevie Wonder on October 19th in Atlanta. And let's see. Okay, Lee Christian also suffers from SAD. It's always so dark, as Prince would say. Yep. And then lunch with Prince. Good morning. And today is Chris's birthday. Okay. So I know he had a birthday performance celebration, but actually today is Chris's birthday. And Nick Felden said Jerome had a birthday. I really haven't been on social media, so I'm off with my birthdays and everything. So, of course, we want to make sure that we give a very special birthday shout out to Jerome Benton. And let's see.
I got a question for what's it? Lunch with Prince. I'm just curious, what spawned that name? Like, it's an interesting name, Lunch with Prince.
I like it.
Yeah, right. I thought, ribs with Prince. Grits with Prince.
I like grits with Prince.
Yes.
Good morning.
A little bit of salt and pepper. Some butter. Anyway, I'm hungry.
I am also.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, Brother Dean, it's funny that you said that. The first conversation, we was on the phone. He said, "Well, I'm gonna have you out, and we're gonna have a little something to eat." Right. And I said, all right. He said, I don't eat no meat. I said, brother, I know you got some rice and gravy somewhere. So I ain't worried about that. As long as you got some rice and gravy, if you got some rice and gravy, right. I mess around and find some pot liquor, but that's a whole nother time. But yeah, so I hear you.
Oh, lunch with Prince. That's a Twitch channel. Okay. I kind of remember. I've seen this before. Yeah, right on, man.
So Lee Christian saw a rock supergroup last night with members from Motley Crue, Black Sabbath, and Lion, who did the Transformers animated movie soundtrack. Wow, that sounds like a pretty awesome evening.
I'm going to see that movie today, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it. Let's see. Lee was late because he was trying to find his microphone.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Oh my God. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into week 38 of What Did Prince Do This Week. For those of you who are new to the space, hopefully you can tell that it is a very safe, welcoming space for all of our peeps. Every week we're reading something from Duane Tudahl's Prince Studio Sessions book series through an interactive being key, weekly online book club and Saturday salon, echoing the spirit of the Harlem Renaissance every Saturday at noon Eastern time. And then we're going week to week, not date to date, Sunday to Saturday of 1984. You can follow the detailed schedule at this QR code or at bit.ly/Prince Book Club. And you do not need the expanded edition, but this is what we're reading. All right. That's right. And these will be archived at Polished Solid as well as at MDean on YouTube. Please subscribe, like, and help spread the word because I know nothing about YouTube and its algorithms because we just want to spread the word about Prince in the studio doing what he does best. And then we have the hashtag WDPDTW for Why Do People Dance This Weird? But it also stands for What Did Prince Do This Week? You can also send us photos, tickets, particularly of the upcoming Purple Rain tour. But I'm really looking for anything you got for the Sheila E. Glamorous Life tour, which is happening right now in 1984. And we're going to talk about that this week. It's really hard to find. So if you have any ticket stubs, you be my best friend. And then if you have some photos, oh my God. So thank you so much. And oh, wow. Thank you so much, Monk. That is very kind of you. And then let's see, Lunch with Prince is saying, Class FM do a show called Breakfast with the Beatles. So I started a show on Twitch called Lunch with Prince.
Got it. All right.
That's called being proactive right there.
Yeah, that's cool. And
this is on Twitch, right? Lunch with Prince. I'm gonna check you out, man.
Yep, Twitch. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And
so for the uninitiated, what is Twitch? I have no idea.
Get on here.
Yeah.
It's like y'all can correct me. It's a streaming platform. I think it started really with gamers and stuff, but now everybody can get on there. I know a lot of DJs use Twitch, do live shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Another technological advancement that completely missed me.
Yes.
There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, so many. All right. So what we listened to at the top of the hour was an incredible song called Madison Park by Eric Leeds and Paul Peterson from their 2017 No Words LP. These are the players. It was written by Eric Leeds and Paul Peterson's brother accompanied them, Ricky Peterson on the B3 organ, and that lovely piano solo that I had to really hear. And Lee Christian, in terms of Twitch, says, in addition to gaming, it's also huge with the DJs since the pandemic. That is correct. So there are a lot of Twitch streams during the pandemic and Kim actually says Lunch with Prince really great during pandemic for me. And
you actually eat on this too? Like you eat lunch? Or it's just like a lunch break with Prince and you play the music?
We'll see. Lunch with Prince will let us know. And then Cassandra Bradley said, I met Mr. Lunch with Prince when leaving Minneapolis after Celebration this year.
Nice.
So awesome. Okay. And we are getting into week 38, our 89th episode ever. What this week, what we know. Thanks, Anil. Everybody okay?
Yeah, that was me. That was my.
He was over there twitching.
It fell down.
Okay. Okay, I didn't know this, Chris Bournet. You got to fill me in a little bit more about this. So Twitch is also big with people who are into video editing. Can you break that down? Like, do they do like real-time video editing? Because I would love to see that. I'm such a nerd, so let me know if that's what you mean. And Tanja also says Twitch kept me going during lockdown. And Dr. Catrice Austin says just music, no eating. Okay. All right. So we're going to get into week 38. As you can see, it's a little thin this week. There's only 2 studio visits, and let's look at them. So there's a mix of Around the World in a Day on Sunday. And then on Friday, there's a piano jam that seems to be a little sprinkles of the latter, but not necessarily the official basic tracking of the latter. However, we're going to talk a lot about the glamorous life. I feel like, Michael Dean, you want to say something?
No.
Nope. Okay. All right. I thought I heard someone say, I was not looking at the screen. I was looking at the calendar. So I was like, did I miss something? All right. And then, let's see. Chris says, yes, real tune video editing and tutorials. Huh. That's good to know. All right. And we got to say good morning to Theo, part of our next power generation.
What's up, Theo?
Theo, what's up, man?
Yeah, what's up? And I love your avatar with the Shots Music Hall. And yes. This is pretty brilliant, Kim, for somebody who's supposedly sleepy. But yes, it got some rungs of the ladder on Friday. And we're also going to talk about the Glamorous Life Tour. Okay, Celie, you got your microscope out for us?
Yep.
Let's start on page 412, Sunday, September 16th, 1984. Take your time. It's a little long, but we don't have that much to talk about, so we're going to read the whole thing today.
So Sunday, September 16, 1984, Around the World in a Day mix. Flying Cloud Drive, Warehouse, Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Producer Prince, artist Prince, engineer the beloved Susan Rogers. There's a quote from Susan Rogers. Around the World in a Day was going to be his new statement. In other words, no longer purple, no longer purple rain. We've got a new look now. We've got a new vision. Of course, that's a Susan Rogers quote. Prince may have decided to leave purple behind, but he hadn't completely let go. The lyrics to Around the World in a Day mention the color. The former is red, white, and blue. The latter is purple. Come on and climb. But he seemed to be trying to create an overall vibe that was very different from the Purple Rain album. Because of his upcoming tour and other commitments to promote the projects, Prince couldn't completely let go of Purple Rain yet. But as the new album began to gel, it was getting more of his attention. According to many of his engineers, Prince preferred to mix songs while recording them. And then he'd spend a little time on a brief mix at the end of a session for any final tweaks. Now, a question, and this is for my brother Dean and other people. Now, he says mix while recording. So I always assumed that recording and mixing was 2 different things. So can you also mix and record at the same time, I'm guessing?
You can, but it's very unorthodox.
Okay, I just
at least from what I was taught. How you do it.
Okay, cool. So if anybody else want to put something in the chat, let me know. That just seemed interesting that they were even. I'm guessing. Go ahead, Prada, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say someone is telling me that your audio is low, but it doesn't sound low to me. Okay. People in the audience or Michael Dean, does it sound low to you?
I think you may just need to come a little closer to the mic.
Okay, how's that?
Yeah, you sound perfect right there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. I'll work on my posture, as my mother would say, as posture boy. All right. Let me see here. Occasionally, when the song was extra important to him, he'd take it back out for a mix at a later time. On this date, Prince decided to have some additional mixing done on Around the World in a Day with David Leonard. Quote, Prince had him come in and do a mix on Around the World in a Day. Remember Susan Rogers, she continues to state, which for David Leonard was very difficult because he was in the middle of this warehouse with no isolation. He wasn't in the studio environment. Here's another quote from Susan Rogers. David did a couple of mixes. It was a difficult song to mix because it was long and pretty orchestral. He did a couple of beautiful mixes, probably better than the one we did. Because Prince just grabbed the the knobs and crank them. Technically, David was a much better, more experienced mixer, so his mix would have been more polished. Prince didn't like too much polish. He used to always say that he didn't want to sound like those engineers in LA. He wanted, and that was a quote from Prince. He wanted to have his own sound. He didn't care if it was worse as long as it was his sound. That's what excited him. So we didn't go for high fidelity. We went for low fidelity. That's interesting. We went for low fidelity. All right. One of the mixes continued a male voice, likely David Coleman, detailing people traveling from countries like Afghanistan, Tibet, Iraq, Egypt, and other areas of the world who were all going to a small village to meet a certain woman. This speech was played backwards and buried in the mix, but it was on the released version. This monologue is likely from Coleman's original version of the song. Because of the layout of the warehouse, the engineer creating a mix was stuck working in the middle of a large rehearsal space, which exposed many flaws in the process because the room wasn't built for this type of work. According to Rogers, Prince soon realized he wasn't going to use any of Leonard's mixes. He would take the track back out in October for follow-up work. Turning my page. I need a little ding. Remember we had those records and albums that go ding. Now there was a title track to his next project. The Around the World in a Day album was taking shape. Up until now, he had been thinking of the project as Paisley Park, but the new song brought in a renewed energy and any other plans were scrapped. Status: the mixes of Around the World in a Day from today's session remain unreleased. This song was supposedly originally tracked on August 16, 1984, but it is possible that it was actually recorded during today's session. The end.
All right. So a couple of questions in the chat. One from Barbara that I'd like Michael Dean to answer. For those of us who are not familiar with working in the studio, can someone give a basic explanation of what mixing a song means?
Think of it as, so let's say Prince recorded all the tracks and everything for the song, and like remember normally each sound or instrument is on its own track. So in a mix is a way to go in after the fact normally and sort of like, okay, let's turn up the kick a little bit, or let's add a little effect to the kick, or let's make sure that the harmonies are pan to one side or whatever it is. So it's the mix is just when they come in and really tighten up everything and make it sound the way that they want it to sound. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but and I would say normally you would do that, or at least I don't know what they do now, but normally you might wait a little bit before you did the final mix. So you might just record the song. We did it today. Maybe we did a quick mix so we can hear what it sounds like and sounds good. But then maybe we come back with some fresh ears, maybe the next day or a week later or whatever that is, but at least giving your time to maybe listen to it a little bit. And then you sit down with the engineer and you guys load everything back up on the board. And then you start the meticulous process of, okay, let's try to see what it sounds like with the snare drum over here or doubled up or something. So you can kind of experiment and do different things. It's interesting that Prince already sort of had an idea of this is what my stuff sounds like. And he was able to just do it all at one night. I think that's a great thing, but sometimes I think too, it would be interesting if they had took more time, and not to say that they don't, because we read about them doing mixes over the weeks, but it would have been interesting to hear what they sounded like, with a little bit more space. I think his later records seem to sound like they've been mixed, really good after the fact or something, but that's what mixing would be. It can be a process for sure.
And also that's perfect for everybody. I would just add one other thing more to a cultural thing. As someone who's had to clean up a lot of bootleg, who's had to clean up a lot of audio bootleg with software, also mixing can get into genres. So for instance, rock mixes are going to be more treble based, and R&B is going to be more bass mix. So if you download like just a cheap free software, those kind of mixers are going to basically have a line down the middle with all the bass knobs to the left and all the treble knobs to the right. So along with what Brother Dean is saying about mixing all of the different instruments so that they're balanced, and then you go in and you mix toward ear, where it's going to have more of a rock sound or a classical sound or a funk sound or an R&B sound, and that basically gets into how high or low your bass and treble are going to be. And on a final point, bootlegs, because if you're not getting it from the soundboard, if you're getting like real true bootlegs, they tend to be high on the baseboard, so you have to push up a lot of treble so that you can actually get the clear things that you're seeing. So it's everything that Brother Dean said about mixing and balancing the instruments, along with then mixing toward genre. Because of course, if you want a heavy bass sound, you're going to mix your bass a little higher and pull your treble down on that, right?
Mm-hmm. And one thing I'd like to add too, we read about or you've heard about Prince listening to his music in the car. So like traditionally, particularly when Prince was recording in the earlier days, that's kind of how you would test out your mixes. It's like sort of the car test, and then you could like create an acetate and take it to the club just to see, like you can do. What's really interesting nowadays, I've heard some people say that they actually mix to either like Beats headphones or they mix, to Apple headphones as opposed to like the club or the car, because most people are consuming through those mediums. I can't remember what artist said that, but I thought I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. But at the same time, why would you want to do that? Because we have such a less limit of a dynamic range, meaning the higher the highs and the lower the lows, and some of the speakers that we have, because a lot of so I'm just talking about just normal consumers really don't have the gear that a lot of people had, let's say like in the 70s and the 80s, when people really took their music seriously. Like my uncles actually built their own speakers. In fact, they built them so big that I remember one day, and I was in my single digits, I woke up in the middle of the night going to the bathroom, and one of the speakers had fallen on my uncle's face, and he was like bleeding profusely, and I had to go get my grandma and all that kind of stuff. But they would make these like massive speakers, and they would build them themselves. So something to think about. Thank you, Barbara, for that question. And then there's one more. Let's see.
I was going to add to it. Yeah, Lee really dropping some stuff there. There's also, after the mixing is done, what we actually hear when we get the records, we hear the mastered version. So there's the mix, and then they take it to the mastering person, which is normally Bernie. And then, like, I always tell people, that's where they put the season. That's where they make it, make it like a movie star. They put the shine, so you're ready to hit. You was already look good, but let me just add a little bit of, season to really kick it. And that's where, you'd be like, okay. You can tell, a real person can tell the difference between something that was mixed and something that was mastered. It'd be like a lot of the bootlegs that we may have heard, they had a mix to them, but they weren't mastered. So when we hear like Sign of the Times remaster and we hear all those bootleg tracks, and we're like, wow, I've heard this song so many times, but now I can really hear, because now you're hearing the mastered version, not just the mix.
Yeah, and speaking of which, like the Atmos version of Diamonds and Pearls is incredible. You just hear things that you normally wouldn't have heard because of the way that it was mixed for Atmos systems. And then there's this question from Chris Bournet that I just want to quickly address. Chris asked, is it safe to say that Duane Tudahl won't write a separate volume on Around the World in a Day, since so much of it is covered in this book on Purple Rain? I would think that is correct, because I know that Duane has told me personally that he only has so many more books in him, because it takes a long time to write these books. And right now he's working on either I'm really hoping that he's working on 87, 88. Or he said, or it might be 81, 82. And I mean, I would love to get both of those, but if I had to choose between two of them, it would be 87, 88. But we will see. But the thing is, like, he has been writing about Around the World in a Day this entire year, because this is essentially when Prince is recording all those songs. We've talked about America. We've talked about pop life. We're beginning to talk about the latter. We've been talking about Raspberry Beret. So, I mean, we've been talking about it. So, nope, I can safely say that I don't think that's going to happen.
And I like that he did it this way, because it documents even more what all of us have been saying. I know I talked about it a little bit in my writings about that. You know, what I loved about Around the World in a Day was it was done just about before Prince went on tour. And it was Prince saying, I'm not going to be chained to this image in your head that you want me to be. Like, it was Around the World in a Day is probably, for me, it's not like a favorite. I don't have, quote, a favorite album. But I want to be clear. It is, for me, one of Prince's greatest artistic statements. And that's like, I love Prince since like 79, 80. Like, I've been a Prince fan since 79, 80. But when Around the World in a Day came out, that was the day for me that cemented that this my dude, this my cat. Because I knew that I was going to be challenged. I knew I was going to be on an artistic journey, right? Around the World in a Day, just like Purple Rain sounded like nothing, Around the World in a Day sounded like nothing on the radio. That was not, you couldn't copy this, right? There wasn't going to be no whole bunch of Purple Rain clones. And again, I don't want to throw out any names, because I know I probably like a lot of those groups that people say were copying Prince that a lot of people don't like. I like Ready for the World, and I liked all those things, but one gonna be no Around the World in a Day group. One gonna be no somebody's gonna copy this sound. And so that's what I like about Brother Tudahl putting this in this text, is that it really shows the forward thinking of Prince's mind, and that there have been very few people who were thinking this way about making popular art, right? That's it. I'll shut up.
So I want to highlight Theo's comment, because I think it's a really important one. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this every week, is if you truly read Duane's books, you can see that there is definitely overlap and transition between the albums. And Arthur Turnbull often talks about how Prince was working on two timelines at the same time, like trying to fulfill the current album, but while working on the next album, or in some cases, 2 or 3 or 4 more albums. So that's one thing. I think it's really, so Lee Christian, thank you so much for everything that you're posting in the chat. So there was Melvin Rush talked about, what about the remastered mix, like the Sign of the Times? I would love to hear actually Michael Dean talk about this, because Lee Christian in the chat is saying that, and I know most people agree with Lee Christian, that his 80s catalog really needed to be remastered. But when I got the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe box set, and I have 2 turntables and a mixer, so I put on the original Sign of the Times vinyl that I had, and I put in the remastered vinyl that I had. And to be honest, I prefer the original vinyl versus the remaster. And I don't know if it's because that's how I listen to it and that's what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. But like for me, I didn't necessarily need the remaster, but I know that a lot of, I wonder what Big Sexy would say. So I'm wondering what you say, Michael Dean, about the remasters.
Well, in terms of specifically Sign of the Times, that's a hard question. They're not that different to me personally. I think it's a little more brighter. I can hear things a little more clearly, but I don't think it takes away or necessarily adds necessarily too much either. I think for me, it was the unreleased songs on that package that really kind of like, I'll say it this way. Some of the unreleased songs sound better in my mind sonically than the actual album. and
I
it's probably because they were never mixed the way that the other ones were, so they just sound like they're mixed today and stuff. And I was just like, wow, so they jump out at me. But I think so in terms of like his older stuff, how it was mixed, I do agree. It does have a lo-fi sound to it, some of the stuff. But I wouldn't say that about the first album though. I feel like the first Prince album sounds incredible sonically, like even better than the albums after it, in my opinion, until maybe you get to like Love Sexy, where it just kind of like blows up. But I just think it was after reading these books, you can see why it sounded that way. They were just doing everything on the fly as they were going for the most part. He wasn't as focused on making the song sound, I mean, he literally says they're doing it lo-fi. So I can hear that. I do wish that there was, and there's no slight to Susan Rogers or any of the engineers. I wish there was a different engineer that maybe had more of an ear for funk and R&B that could really, because I always feel like the bass playing is really missing in those records, and it's obviously dope as hell. You hear it in concert and like just killing it. But I don't think, like, when I play those songs and I'll play like something from Cameo or Zap and songs that came out at the same time, there's such a difference in my mind of the way that the sounds hit when you play them in a car or something. But other than that, they are what they are. I say I would always want to see a remixing of the albums, not a remastered per se. That may be sacrilegious to some people, but I just feel like there's a lot in those older albums that we just didn't really get to feel. And I was just like, man, if somebody else had the opportunity to mix them in a certain way, that would be kind of dope just to hear. Like, what if you really heard, like, even Get It Up, as dope as that is, like if somebody who mixed that, who really understood the bass and how that's supposed to hit and funk, and let them mix that, it would be kind of crazy. Like damn, you really hear like, man, Prince or Brown Mark or whoever, they are killing it. Which is why I love the Atmos Purple Rain, because you can really hear some of those other guitar parts and things that I never even heard in the mix before. And it's just like, wow, this is what he was doing on the records, And we say, man, it was better on live. Actually, it's like, actually, it was all there in the records. It just didn't really hear some of it. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. That's my answer for it.
And I mean, and I know this is not going to be a surprise to you, but I actually have some friends who were very upset by the Purple Rain Atmos release because they felt like it was changing the song and all of that. I mean,
I will add real quick. You mentioned Diamonds and Pearls. The Cream on the Atmos Cream, I don't like that one. Only because to me it breaks the song. It makes I think it made the bass or something the more prominent, and I've always heard it a different way. And it's not that it's bad, but it just was like I can't really listen to it because it just sounds too different to me. But some of the other mixes on there are fabulous. And let me cut you off.
Let me ask you both of y'all a question then, because when y'all said that, and again, it's a question that you can't really answer, but and it's something. Anyway, I'll just ask a question. Because I'm look, I want to be clear. I want as much stuff we can get, right? I want as much stuff as we can get. My question about remixing and remastering, I'm always leery because when you're remixing and remastering somebody's stuff who's not here, because it's one thing to say this is how Prince heard it in the studio or heard it in his head, but I don't know if we can be sure about that if he's not here. And maybe I'm on that because there's a novel by Ralph Ellison. Ralph Ellison wrote Invisible Man. And there's a novel called Juneteenth that I never bought. It was a novel published after Ralph Ellison died. And the reason I never bought it was because it wasn't finished. And I didn't appreciate some editor finishing Ralph Ellison's novel. Now it's about to happen. Margaret Walker Alexander is the author of a novel called Jubilee. And Jubilee, for those of you who don't know, Nikki Giovanni said that Margaret Walker Alexander's most famous writer nobody knows, There would be no Roots by Alex Haley, and there would be no Beloved by Toni Morrison. Let me say that again. There would be no Roots by Alex Haley. There would be no Beloved by Toni Morrison had Alice Walker not written her novel Jubilee. They found an unfinished novel by Margaret Walker, and it's coming out in 2025. And I don't know how I feel about people finishing other people's works. Now, I know remastering and remixing is not the same thing, but I guess for me, the question is, if you're going to remaster and remix something and it's going to make one instrument more prominent, my question is, are we somehow diluting or changing the artist's original vision by saying we're going to turn up the bass on this, we're going to turn up the guitar on this? And so, again, I'm going to be clear. I'm not saying I'm not going to listen to it. And there's also a caveat that I actually destroyed my hearing with all the bootlegs. So I don't have the ear to hear those nuances that you guys hear anyway. But if you're telling me I'm going to hear a song like Cream, that they changed the most prominent instrument on it, my question is that a choice being made by somebody else? Or is that a choice Prince would have wanted us to make? I'll shut up so y'all can answer, and folks in the chat.
Good question. In terms of the mixing on these Atmos, I don't know how they decide that part. So I can't speak to that. In a general sense, I would say, going by your logic there, we wouldn't have Prince's book, The Beautiful Ones. We probably would never have any of these special editions released either, because obviously he didn't come out with those for a reason. Some of those songs never came out because they were his decisions not to come out, and now we are listening to them and they're being sold. So I don't know. It's a slippery slope when you kind of go with that. I think as long as they don't take back the originals out of circulation, then it's just another version of what this sounds like. Somebody like a Prince, an artist of that magnitude, their works are going to be remixed, reinterpreted for the world. That's just the way art works, right? Like, people are inspired by it, they'll do their own versions. Sorry. I always think, again, I bring up Sly Stone. I'm a big fan of that, but I was not a fan during when it was really popping or nothing like that. I'm the younger dude, getting into it way later, but I have heard the album versions, and then I've heard they've released, their own special editions, and they'd be entirely different mixes of those classic songs that are different. And as a fan, I appreciate it. Like, I'm like, oh, Hot Fun in the Summertime, there's another mix of that. The drums are a little different, or things are panned to different sides, or it's a little longer. I don't know how Sly and them feel about that, but I don't not stop listening to the songs because they're different. And to me, it just like makes me listen to them more. I want to hear the different versions of it. And I think for people who appreciate the art, that's a fun thing to do. Like, it's cool to hear that kind of stuff. Again, it's not taking away from the original. I'm already love that. I've already bought that. It's a part of my life. So having other stuff, I think it's cool. I guess maybe I would say now, if they go to changing lyrics or intentions behind what his messages were, I might have something to say about that. But I've already crossed the threshold of this isn't what Prince wanted, or what, because again, we wouldn't have none of this stuff if more like that, right?
Yeah, I think, for me, the autobiography, Prince's autobiography, The Beautiful Ones, is a little different from what Celie is talking about. Because it was unfinished, but it wasn't completed by someone else, meaning we didn't learn about Prince's life up until his passing through somebody else's words. There was a prologue, by Dan, but it wasn't writing in the voice of Prince. It was just
it's putting an unfinished work by his that he never.
Yeah. But I feel like, Lee, though, that you were saying, if someone was actually trying to finish what was started.
Well, both finished, but also, and I know I'm taking a leap here, both. So yes, specifically both finished, but also, my question is, when you're mixing and remastering, I've always thought that mixing and remastering is making you hear more of what it already was. But if you're telling me that mixing and remastering is also changing one instrument being more dominant than another instrument, that's my pushback, because while Prince may have never mixed, he always approved the mixes. And so again, if you're telling me that, hey, we mixed and remastered this thing so that it's what you heard in 1983, it's just more of that, versus you're telling me we mixed and mastered this to where now different instruments are more prominent in this mix than it was in the original. My question on that is simply, how are we making that decision? And does that then begin to creep into your changing or editing or rewriting in a way that Prince may not have wanted to, right? That's the only pushback I have. But now I like the point that Brother Dean adds, that, okay, if you're going to have these originals, and then you're going to say, here are 3 different mixes with this original. As long as people can, if we can say, here's the original, and here are 3 different new mixes where we made other instruments more prominent, then okay. I just don't want those new mixes where instruments are more prominent to become the thing that people think is the song. Because at some point, there is a song that Prince wrote, recorded, mixed, and mastered that he said, here you go.
Right.
But
go ahead.
I think it's a little bit more complicated. So Lee Christian was actually, he's speaking to what I wanted to speak about, which it is all about perspective, because actually what you hear is different from what I hear, because one, we have different ears. Also, what you see, and even in terms of colors, is different from what I see. And then, light changes color. But going back to our conversation about audio, you're already having a change of the sound, like when you're going from the vinyl, which has the highest dynamic range, and then going to the CD that compresses some of that information out of the original vinyl. And then you go down to an MP3, and then that's like, it's literally removing, so it doesn't have the same dynamic range. And then just think about, what it sounded like with the real instruments, because you're so like, that it's like the soundscape, I'll call it, is changing all the time, depending also on your equipment, like certain speakers, certain headphones. So like there are a lot of variables. So like, to answer your question directly, as long as someone doesn't remove Prince's bass line and put somebody else's bass line in it, or remove Prince's guitar playing and put somebody else's guitar playing in it, the levels are, and yes, it can drastically change a song, because like the song that irks me to no end, even though I love it on originals, is Makeup. Makeup is the song I play the most off of originals, but it's also the song that irks me to no end, because if you listen to the original Vanity 6 version, it's sonically changed because of what they chose to highlight in the instruments when it came to the drums and like the cymbals and things. Like it's like, if you can put them on top of another, like in a digital audio workstation, and go back and forth between the two, they drastically changed it. And I'm upset, but at the same time, it's clean. So it's just like I have a love-hate relationship, but it's still the song that I pull out when I want to listen to originals. And then going back, like when the Black album was quote unquote officially released, I preferred my bootleg copy on vinyl than the one that was officially released, because it just sounded better to me. So it's just I don't know. It's really a complicated. It's not so black and white. Like, and going back to like Minnie Riperton was my first love before Prince, and when she passed, they posthumously, and they've done this time and time again. They put out a posthumous album where they added people on her songs that weren't supposed to be on there because they were trying to complete the album. So that to me is a little different. You know, it would be like having somebody sing Prince's lines, and like I feel like that's crossing the line. But as long as the actual instruments are there, and it can be annoying that you know that they're like maybe have brought something up in the mix, but at the same time it could be amazing because then, like Michael said, you hear something that you hadn't heard before because it's so buried in the mix, particularly when Prince started layering so many. It's like Love Sexy is like bananas.
Right.
But like, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I personally like I do have a favorite album, and my favorite album is Controversy. And one of the reasons why is because I think sonically it sounds amazing. Like just like Michael Dean was saying about, you know, For You sounds incredible just in terms of like the sonic landscape. But like for me, Controversy sounds amazing. But you know, it depends on the album. Like it can get quote unquote muddy, you know, depending on like what you're listening to. Let's see. Anil, hi Anil. Let's see. Anil says, feel like we're very lucky the estate hasn't done any corny posthumous duets. Yes, or letting some rapper of the moment sample his stuff. Yeah, this is what I would have a problem with, C. Lee. And like I said,
shade there, Mr. Dad. I thought that.
no, it's not the rapper shade. It's more just like adding stuff that wasn't originally what Prince had. That's what it was for me.
I would add too, you know, I think of this as the same way I think of, you know, I'm a big movie guy, so I love 4K movies. I love watching movies that have been converted to 4K. There are examples of where it looks fantastic, like Purple Rain. And then there are examples where it looks a little weird and there's something going on there. To me, it's just the same thing. They're just using the expansiveness, I'm making up words, that the new technology allows to make you see things that were probably always there, but just because of the sonics, of the technology, of the visuals, we just couldn't see it. You know, so that's how I look at the Atmos mix. Some of it brilliant. Some songs I feel like I'm so used to hearing it a certain way, it kind of breaks it from me. But it's not like they're adding anything that wasn't already in the song. You know, a great example of this, go listen to D'Angelo's first album in Atmos. And man, those harmonies and background singings, I never heard that shit before. The way they sound now, you can clearly hear him singing and all these other vocal inflections and breathing and saying stuff that you just couldn't hear. So they didn't add anything. It just made it possible that we could hear what was already there. And what they probably added was more of a surround aspect to it. So the same way with the Prince stuff, they didn't add nothing that wasn't there. It just made it available now that you could hear all of this that's there. In the same way, do they change things visually on a movie when they convert it to new technology? Maybe the colors are a lot more brighter. Or now we could get into an argument about Under the Cherry Moon. You know, say, oh, if they put the color version now, well, he didn't want. But that's something different.
We don't want to go there because we'll be here until like 5 p.m. because that's a heated conversation if you're on Facebook and what is it, Mrs. Wellington's some group called Mrs. Wellington something, and they're really going into that. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. I want to see what Anil's saying. Michael's so right about the Atmos mixes. I don't think they're 100% faithful to the original sounds, but they let you hear things you were missing before, and it doesn't hurt the original. Yeah.
So I'll and I know I'm probably splitting hairs, so I'll just end on this. This is my point. I'm not against sonic improvements, but I am wary of arrangement and production decisions being made. That's probably for me the best way I can say it. So if you're telling me that they're sonically improving these things, I'm fine, because I'm probably, you know, and I'm probably, because I'm probably never gonna get the Atmos. I'm never gonna. My ears just don't hear a lot of those nuances that most people hear.
Dude, just get you some headphones and plug them into your phone. You can.
I mean, like no. Like I literally have lost part of my hearing in my left ear because of bad bootlegs. Like I really have. Like, because I'm gonna tell you how stupid I was. I thought that turning bootlegs up loud would make them sound better. Like I didn't know that until I started losing part of my hearing. Like, no, that's not the best way to hear a bootleg, and I had to start mixing them. So again, so I just want to be clear for people. The point I'm making, I'm not against if you're saying that these things make them more sonically better or clearer. I'm just leery of somebody making an arrangement or production decision that Prince never intended a certain arrangement or production decision to be made. That's it. I'll shut up.
I got you. I would say, you know what? Go listen for yourself and then make a decision.
Okay.
Because you might be surprised.
All right. So I don't know where our timekeeper is, but I'm sure that maybe our timekeeper is still sleeping. Okay. So again, Sheila E is currently because we're in 1984, in case you didn't know. There's our timekeeper. Hold on one second. I can't find my mouse. Where did it disappear to? I don't see it. Oh, here. Oh, okay. Yep. All right. Okay. So Sheila E this week is in Richmond, Virginia at the Cellar Door, Charlotte, South Carolina, PB Scott's Music Hall, Atlanta, GA, Moonshadows Saloon, which I've never heard of, and in Houston, Texas at Numbers 2. Well, that's a name. And so we are going to read a couple of reviews from these shows because you know how much I love these reviews. So you're going to have to bear with me. And we're going to read a review from the Richmond Times. And the title of this is Sheila E's show, Hot Suggestive. All right. So, and the author is John Wirt. And Sheila E, a protege of Prince, performed a hot and heavily suggestive show last night at the Cellar Door. An enthusiastic crowd of 900 was on hand. A poll wasn't taken, but chances are that the pulse of many of the males in the crowd was increased by Sheila's strutting and teasing. Sheila got a big response when she said, "I heard Richmond was hot, but I didn't know it was this hot. I think I'm going to take this coat off." Sheila and band gave a highly choreographed Prince-style performance, and each band member looked as if he or she had been coached by Prince. In dress and musical style, they also appear to have been molded in Prince's image. Actually, the singer-percussionist stage show depends more on her good looks and sexual innuendo than music. I don't know about that, but okay. She did a mock strip tease. She also punctuated her show by turning her back to the crowd, moving her hips in circles. I can't believe someone wrote that.
Damn.
Anyone out there?
Twerking, early twerking.
Okay, and she asked, would anyone out there like to play my timbales? Several hundred hands went up. An eager young male volunteer was selected to join Sheila on the stage for some sexually charged antics. With her group of 2 percussionists, 2 guitar players, 2 keyboardists and bass, Sheila does put on a visually dynamic show. And yes, she looks good. She can also play the timbales, but can she sing? Well, sort of. Barbra Streisand doesn't need to worry about Sheila out-singing her. It's probably a good thing that Sheila doesn't sing much on stage. She has a limited range and her voice is hardly distinguished, but to most of the people at the Cellar Door, that probably hardly matters.
Willie Morrison said, fine as she is, she don't have to.
Well, I personally love Sheila's tone and voice, and I'm okay that she's not Barbra Streisand. In fact, whenever I've ever heard Erotic City without Sheila live, it misses, for me, it's missing something. So I have always loved her tone.
Hey, I'm glad you highlighted that. Do y'all know who was the person who made the term suggestive popular and the go-to term to dog stuff out? Rev Jimmy Swaggart.
Okay.
Jimmy Swaggart was the beginning because my mom used to watch
Man of God.
Yeah, my mom used to watch it, and people don't know that you do know who Jimmy Swaggart's cousins are, right?
Uh-uh.
Oh my goodness. His two cousins are Jerry Lee Lewis and Mickey Gillett.
What?
They used to run the lose. Look, they were so great that they used to win so many Louisiana talent shows that they made them stop coming. And in fact, if you watch the Jimmy Swaggart movies, I can't remember the brother, the guy who starred in it. He shows that Jerry Lee Lewis and Jimmy Swaggart used to run the clubs together. That's how they got so good. That's how they both were great. Jimmy Swaggart was probably a better piano player than Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis and Mickey Gillett, the two of them actually went on record saying that Jimmy Swaggart was probably as great, if not better, piano player. If a lot of people don't know this, Jimmy Swaggart's music albums used to be fire. And so my mom used to watch Jimmy Swaggart. And believe this, check this out. And I end on this. Jimmy Swaggart used to come on every morning on BET. Now, check this out. But yes, Jimmy Swaggart used to come on every morning around because my mom would be getting up to get ready to go to work. We getting ready to go to work in school. And so you would watch Jimmy Swaggart, right? And so whoever was the programmer for BET had one hell of a sense of humor because Jimmy Swaggart would go off. And so Jimmy Swaggart would go off in the morning, followed exactly by a video show. And I promise you that this happened at least 3 times a week in 1986. Jimmy Swaggart would end his sermon with, and all of that rock and roll and sinful music with its suggestive lyrics is going to drive this country straight to hell. And when Jimmy Swaggart would say straight to hell, the next thing you would hear would be, I said, oh, somebody got a sense of humor at BET because they would follow Jimmy Swaggart with Kiss. My mama would be so damn mad, and she would turn around, laugh if you want to, damn it. It is not funny. I said, oh, mama, this is the greatest thing. So Jimmy Swaggart. So shout out to whoever was programming BET back in the day, because Jimmy Swaggart would go off and Homeboy would follow it up with Prince. And it was so wonderful to me.
Wow. I still can't believe Jimmy Swaggart was on BET.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
Just to try to connect a little bit, follow me. Me and my oldest daughter, we started to watch the Jackson, what's that? The Jackson Family American Dream.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in years. So we started watching that. And I forgot there's the whole scene when Joe is, courting Catherine and they're talking and they both, and she says, he's like, I think he asked her what her favorite music was. And she said country, she says country and Western or something like that. And he goes, oh, me too. And then there's a whole scene where they're dating. I don't know if they're at his house or whatever. And they're singing a country song like together. Like that was a fun thing to do. And my daughter was looking at me. I was like, yo, that was a thing for Black folks. Like we was on country and Western. I know it seems weird now in 2024, but I was like, yo, that's how we got down. So there's probably, correlating to BET playing that because I'm sure a lot of older Black people, that was country and Western was a major genre for us.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And also Bob Johnson, when he owned BET, for much of BET's early time, at least I would go say 50%, I know 25% of what was BET programming was paid advertising, right? People just get on Bob Johnson because of all of the paid advertising. And at that time, Jimmy Swaggart and Kenny Copeland, they were the two biggest TV evangelists. And so Swaggart was, he was on BET regularly. So so
that's a cool last name.
Yeah. So Designer Guy, just so you know, we like in addition to what did Prince do this week, it's also what we call a Saturday salon. So we go off topic a lot because we talk about culture and we talk about music. Sometimes we talk about movies. So this is what we do. And Kim, I always knew that BET definitely showed church and gospel, but I didn't realize it was Jimmy Swaggart in particular. So yeah. All right, so let's get back to it. So we're going to talk about the Charlotte, South Carolina show for Sheila E. which was on Monday at PB Scott's Music Hall. And I think I have a review for this one. Yes, I do. So I'm going to no, I'll keep it on the screen for you guys in case you can see it, because I know some of you guys watch this on your TV. All right, so Sheila E performs at PB Scott's Music Hall by Jerome Klein. And again, this is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I know we got somebody from North Carolina here today. So by the time Sheila E had begun her third number at a standing room only, PB Scott's Monday night, I was running out of superlatives. The woman, tall, thin, dark-haired, and Latin-looking, that's funny, because she was Latin, has an act that is a smash. The fact that her advanced publicity said so meant nothing. But after one look, I was a convert. In a word, the look is presence. Either you've got it or you don't. She has it. And apparently, lots of people have gotten the word in a hurry. Sheila E's had only one hit, The Glamorous Life, off of her first solo album of the same title, but the line stretched well out the door early Monday night. It was a mixed crowd, The Glamorous and the rest of us. I love that line. It was a mixed crowd, The Glamorous and the rest of us, who were already at a fever pitch as she took the stage 25 minutes late. It didn't matter. As the lights went up, Sheila E stood with her back to the audience, directing an 8-piece band conductor style. And what a band, exclamation point. The only comparison that fits musically, visually, and stylishly is to Prince and the Revolution. Techno pop dance funk. Don't mistake the comparison to Prince for a put down. It's a compliment. Sheila E is the daughter of West Coast percussionist Pete Escovedo, who played with Santana. She was joining in by the time she was 5 years old. After work with George Duke and Prince, rumor has it they are more than just friends, she decided the time was right to strike out on her own. For her album, she wrote the tunes, did the production, sang and played most of the instruments. That was the narrative that they had back then. That's the reason why we're doing What to Pursue this week. Okay, last night on stage, she sang and played percussion, and her band supplied the rest. She did one slow ballad, and the rest were upbeat and fast. She had the crowd eating out of her hand. Before she began, the word swept the hall that Prince himself would show up, as he has at a few of her other dates. He didn't, but I doubt anyone missed him. The crowd chanting, Sheila, Sheila, almost rioted when she left the stage. Sheila is more than capable of carrying a crowd away. We'll be hearing about her for a long time. Charlotte-based rock band Panic. I love this. Charlotte-based rock band Panic opened the show with a 45-minute set. Since I saw them about 9 months ago, they've obviously been working hard. But their set Monday night had the feel of a band that's trying too hard for success. Too stylish, too slick. They do well to relax a little. All right.
Okay. So let me make a connection. So I like, and I'm assuming that the author was white, and so said that in the crowd were the Glamorous and the rest of us. Now I'm going to make a connection to that Sheridan, Wyoming promo thing. And there was a fan from Sheridan. And I want to be clear, I don't think the person was meant any malice when they said this, but they essentially said, we clap for anybody black or dressed weird. Right? That because, and so I'm always thinking about with Purple Rain. And this is the thing that people forget. Before the second leg of the 1999 tour, when Little Red Corvette became in heavy rotation on MTV, 70 to 80% of Prince's audience at his live shows were black. I mean, you just can't refute that. So when someone says that Prince didn't have it, no, Prince was a black act. He was on black radio. He did black radio promotion. 70, 80% of the people at the shows through 1999, through halfway to 1999 tour were black. And so when I read comments like the Glamorous and the others, and then you go to the Sheridan, Wyoming, and you hear, we clap for anybody that was black or dressed weird. I'm also thinking about a lot of these reviews, both the reviews of the shows and how they are reviewing it from a very narrow or kind of myopic rock spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And so that anything that isn't, you know, stadium glam rock or some guys in t-shirts and jeans just standing in one place strumming a guitar gets a kind of negative slight. It's kind of, and I'll say this, if you look at a lot of early Prince bootlegs and even later on, even say go through Act 1 and Act 2, I would always notice with a lot of Prince's bootlegs is they would lose him a lot of times because it would seem to me that these bootleggers were used to filming rockers who stood in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you watch a lot of the Prince bootlegs, they would have trouble. And again, they're stealing too. So let me be clear. So they can't be like, I get that they're stealing. And so they have to be discreet. But go back and watch, say, bootlegs of rock, bootleg of white rockers. And I agree that even, you know, white rockers like Lita Ford are taken seriously, but there's even a bit more of that animus toward when they're covering black acts, that these kind of digs about clothing and about sexuality and about a lot of things simply because they were trying to shoehorn Prince. And in case, you know, Prince is kind of making that entryway into Purple Rain, that Purple Rain becomes the first album, right? That, because even Dirty Mind didn't get the play edit that it probably should have gotten. And so I just think about those kind of cultural things that are happening, that they are really struggling. These journalists are really struggling with, how do we talk about this guy through the lens that we know, which often means that they're very limited in the culture that they're trying to discuss, which means that things come off as digs or slights just simply because they don't have the vocabulary, because they don't have the cultural awareness to talk about it. That's it. I'll shut up.
That's a really good point, Celie. And also, I mean, we're used to it now, but Sheila as a solo artist was pretty radical back in 1984. Not only was, you know, because she was a musician and she was like a band leader and, you know, all the things that people weren't used to. So, I mean, I do like this. One of the things that I liked about this review was just really how they recognized that she was the band leader, you know, and they didn't really know what was going on and had thought that she had, you know, done the entire album and was giving her props for it, because they could have left that out, you know, even though that's not true, because we know that Prince wrote these songs for the most part, but Sheila obviously put her stamp on them, and they were in the studio together in some cases. And obviously, you know, Sheila was doing all of her own percussion and all of that. And she did do songs where Prince wasn't there. We talked about Too Sexy for 2 or 3 weeks, and that didn't have any Prince involvement. So I think that they not only was, you know, Sheila a female artist of color, one female, but also artist of color, but also a bona fide musician. And even Prince wasn't getting just due for being a musician, so let alone Sheila, you know, so it gets really complicated.
Can we add one thing? It's interesting, everything you guys just spoke about. Well, I'm glad it doesn't feel like we have that today, where the artists are sort of seen by people who don't really understand, you know, that music, or, you know, where they're coming from that. And I feel like in the 80s, that's one thing I hated about these magazines, though I love to read them. I hated how they portrayed Prince or some of these other black musicians who weren't, you know, like Lenny Kravitz, I felt like got that too when he came out. Where it's just like, you know, they comparing them to Hendrix or just whatever they know, but they don't again, I'm curious to see like this guy who wrote that. Did he ever go see SOS Band or some of these other contemporaries in the same sort of genre that Sheila was in to understand what he was really watching, or was he just used to seeing rock shows, right? Like he doesn't understand that type of thing. But I don't think we necessarily have that today. I feel like the people now, we dominate that culture of the music, right? Like there is no rock star. Where is the rocker? They don't even hardly exist, right? One thing other was add real quickly. I watched a reaction video. I'm gonna just mention this real quick. He was like a 20-year-old kid, and he was reacting to "It's a Beautiful Night" from Sign of Times, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He was watching. He had never seen it before, and he sounded like he only seen a few Prince things, and he was just like bugging out watching all this. But one thing that was particular, when Sheila E started to rap, he was like, "Oh, is that Sheila E?" And he had this. He stopped it when she was rapping, and he was shocked. In his words, he was, "Man, she's got bars. I don't know where she's like." He saw her as a rapper, right? And he was like, "Man, she's spitting." And he rewinded it and watched that part over, and it made me laugh. I was like, I could probably see, like, for him, not really having any context, and for where rap is today, he may see Sheila E and be like, "Damn, she's Rakim or something" to him, based off of what he's hearing today from a female rapper. The way she was talking, she was rapping, and it's just funny to me. I was like, you can see how music can be different for different ages, because they're just going to see it, and it's all based off of what they know. And they'll see Prince, like he was amazed, like he had to keep rewinding the splits part. Like, how is he doing split and coming up? You don't see no performances like that. It doesn't make sense to me. And he's just bugging out. And I wish I could have reached in the TV and it's like, dude, and this is what we grew up on. Like, so, imagine how the shows look today versus this, and he kind of equated what he was watching to like a Broadway play in his mind. Like, because he was like, everybody's doing something, and it's just, so just to add to say, like, even today, Sheila E has an impact on the youth, and they're picking out stuff that we don't talk about her as being a rapper. But if you remember back, she was pushed in to rap, right? Like, sort of to be a bridge almost of this other music and hip hop, with Crush Groove and all that kind of stuff, Holly Rock and all that. So it's just another interesting part of Sheila.
So what you're saying is Dr. Seuss got better bars than Sexy Red?
Hey.
Pick up that new Dr. Seuss. Harder than Sexy Red. That's all. Let's move on.
All right. So Sheila also did a show in Atlanta, Georgia on Tuesday, which I couldn't find anything about except this one. It's not really an article about it. It's just the only reason why I have this one, it had Frankie Beverly in it. And two, it showed the ticket price for Sheila's show, which was $750 in Atlanta.
Woo!
Yeah. My goodness.
If you look down at the bottom here, that's where it says that Sheila E plays a well-known is well known for her association with Prince, blah, blah, blah. That's the only thing I was able to find. So if anybody, and even I tried to find, so like for those of you who live in New York or the tri-state area, Atlanta had a publication like the Village Voice called Creative Loafing. And Georgia State actually has the Creative Loafing archives, but I don't think they have all of them. And I even tried to find something on the show in the Creative Loafing, but what I found interesting is that they didn't have a review of it in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, as far as I could tell, even though Prince would be there later and they would have reviews about Prince, but not for Sheila. But I was hoping that Creative Loafing did something on Sheila's show, but I couldn't find anything. So if anybody, because I know there's a lot of AT-aliens in the crowd, if you have anything on the show, please be my best friend and share it with us so we can hear a little bit what was going on. And then on Thursday, Sheila was in Houston, Texas. Again, we're talking about 1984 because that's the year we are in for What Did Prince Do This Week, for anybody who's listening for the first time. And we have our final reading for this week, and I'm going to have Michael Dean do this one, and it is page 414, and it's Friday, September 21st, 1984.
Hey, before you have Brother Dean read, could you highlight the Chris Bernay statement. I don't have an answer for it. Like I don't have an answer for it. I just think it's a good question, and I didn't even know. So, but I guess I don't have an answer. I just thought it was a good question that for him to raise, and so we'll probably circle back on that at another rabbit hole at another time. But I'm just glad he raised it, because when I didn't even know that they aren't normally included when people are talking about the rise of Latin artists and pop music.
Yeah, that is a good question. I think it was a different time back then, and obviously a lot of segregation just in terms of the music industry, in terms of genres. Like, just I'm talking about genre segregation. That I think that also contributed to it. All right, Michael Dean.
I'm sorry. Where is this at again?
We are 414 Friday, September 21st. Piano piece.
Gotcha. All right, piano piece contains early version of the latter. Piano jam, unknown location. Producer Prince, artist Prince, engineer none. Quote from Prince. My dad was a musician, so I learned how to play the piano to please him. Our parents can be like gods to us, so I wanted to make him happy. Yeah, that's
a heavy quote.
Yeah, as a dad, that just kind of hit me. Damn. And as a son, but anyway, Prince would often just sit at the piano searching for inspiration. These sorts of impromptu sessions could happen anywhere that he had access to a piano, and would often be recorded on his boombox so he could review it later. On this day, the basic elements of the latter came together during one of these free-form jams. It would be over a month before he recorded with the full band, and along the way, he'd build the track from this simple idea to one of his most powerful and emotional songs. Status, the piano demo that would eventually become the latter, remains unreleased.
All right. So I will say, as a kid, so how old, let's see, came out 85, early 85. So I would have been 14 when I heard Around the World in a Day for the first time. And I did not like the latter because it was slow. Like, I liked, what? Yes. I was like, and I didn't like the latter. I didn't like Temptation. I was playing Tambourine on repeat because, it had that pop,
I'm with you on that.
And Pop Life and stuff like that. And it took me years, if not decades, to really, to be honest, I didn't get into the latter until that video clip of him in rehearsal during the Sign of Times, Love Sexy. Like, basically Sheila is on stage with him. He has like on a white shirt and like a black and white striped, and he's singing it. That is what I got. And whenever I saw that, I was like, oh, now I get it. and also by that time I was older, and now it really hits differently, as a 53-year-old. How old am I? 53-year-old. It really hits. So to make a long story short, in the accompanying playlist, which is on my YouTube channel, all the way at the bottom for week 38, I have a gazillion different versions of the latter, and I have some rehearsals of the latter, like during 84, which is bananas. But over the years, I mean, I have some versions where he played it on the One Night Alone tour. He would pull it out a lot, actually, more so than I thought, to be honest, because I wasn't really paying attention to the latter, because again, it wasn't one of my songs at the time. Now it is. And the same for Temptation. Like, I didn't get it. I was 14 years old, but now I think Temptation is like one of the best songs ever recorded. And it's just interesting how your musical tastes change as you get older, and your musical ears have matured and all that jazz. But the reason why I'm talking is I was shocked at how many times Prince pulled out the latter to perform live, when he didn't do that with other songs. Like, I don't know if he necessarily did that with Temptation. Like,
wasn't Temptation, and I think the album came out before the home video of Prince and Revolution Live, Syracuse. I don't remember, but I know after I saw that video of the concert, it made me go back to Temptation, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what he's, because there's a little bit in the middle there where he kind of
piano
plays.
medley. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And you know, I would say that not so much your music taste. I don't think so much maturity. I think it's also where we enter in with Prince. For you, Prince was an innovator, right? And so you always wanted Prince moving forward.
Yes.
See, so you entered in Prince through an innovator.
Yeah.
The difference for me was I entered Prince as the kid whose father used to take him to the B.B. King homecoming concert. So when I hear Temptation, when I hear it's like I always tell people that Temptation is the first time on record that Prince is doing Jimi Hendrix and straight up blues. Like that's why I say all the comparisons to Jimi Hendrix before that moment in record were really false knee jerk. It was like a black guy with a guitar. We gonna call him Jimi Hendrix when, as brother Arthur has said, and we know now that really Carlos Santana was Prince's dude. Not that he didn't love Jimi Hendrix, not that he wasn't influenced by Jimi Hendrix, but he was playing more like Santana than Hendrix. And then so you don't get Hendrix. So for me, when I heard Temptation on the album, it was because I was hearing B.B. King. I was hearing Jimi Hendrix. So it wasn't so much that your taste, it was just like you are always seeking Prince the innovator. Where for me, I was always looking for Prince the blues cat. And ironically, I'll tell you what was ironic. Because I knew so much, and again, Purple Rain was the only tour that I missed. So I saw Purple Rain from the VHS. Ironically, because I'm from Sam Cooke's hometown, right? And so I was told as a child, Sam Cooke was killed because he left God. That's what grown people told us, Brother Dean. I was familiar with Little Richard's struggle with religion. So when I see Prince doing the thing on Temptation, it's both funny, but it also resonates with me because that was a theme in Black music, right? The battle between the secular and the profane. So when Prince eases up to the piano, he looks up and says, "Hey, brother, I knew I said I'd be good, but they dig it when I'm bad." That resonated with me in a cultural and communal and artistic way, because again, that was Black church etymology, right? Ethos. That was Black church ethos. So it's and I think, but I like that you raised that. We all have to understand that that Prince's musical pie chart has so many slices that we have to give room for everybody who comes in, because not everybody's gonna come in through the slice where I'm going to come in, right? I hate all them damn Junior Vasquez's mixes. Like if I never hear another Junior Vasquez mix, but I know that there are people who love the Junior Vasquez mixes, so I have to give room for the people who love the Junior Vasquez's mixes, because that's how they entered into the pie chart. So yeah, so I like that, but I just wanted to say that I love the fact, because for you are clear. You're like, hey, this was controversy, innovative. Dirty Mind, innovative. 1999, innovative. Prince, innovative. For You, innovative, right? He opens damn For You in the most innovative ways you can open an album. So I get that for you. You're like, what the hell with these grandparents' music? What is going on? What the hell? Look, I got to go to church on Sunday, Prince. I don't need to hear no damn hymn now.
Oh my God, Sheila. So you really hit the nail on the head. And I shouldn't say this. I don't want to get into personal taste, because that's when I get crucified, but I'm going to get crucified. I'm going to do it. All right. So I never connected with Emancipation as a record for
what? No, I'm just kidding.
For a couple of reasons. One, I could not believe that Prince led with a cover off of an album for the lead single. A cover, when I was so used to, I understood covers in the concert, but not just one cover. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 covers on this Emancipation. That's number one. Number two, it's so rooted in R&B, and I love R&B. But I was like, where is my innovator Prince? You know, like, where is it? Like, just like, so like Tambourine, like the track is so emblematic of why I love Prince. Only Prince could come up with Tambourine as a track. Like nobody else could come up with Tambourine, you know. But like, let's take somebody. You know, maybe. I mean, I love that song. I think it's a great song, but for me, it wasn't innovative Prince. So
you know
you're absolutely right, Celie.
You know what got me through Emancipation? That he was smart enough to give us Chaos and Disorder. So for a lot of people, they see Chaos and Disorder as a throwaway. I see Chaos and Disorder in a veiled way, saying to folk like you and particularly somebody like me who enters through a blues rock canon. Chaos and Disorder is probably, even though it's not a top to bottom rock album, I would argue that Chaos and Disorder is probably the closest to being a full Prince rock album. And so what got me through Emancipation is that I treated Chaos and Disorder as the fourth album of Emancipation. So I never listened to Emancipation just the 3 albums by itself. I always would begin with Chaos and Disorder and then flow right. So then, talking about mixing and remixing and mastering, then Emancipation wasn't too clean for me. It wasn't too pristine for me. It wasn't too R&B polished for me because I had my chaos and Disorder, and also just the lyric and the lyric and groove of In This Bed I Scream. Like it's probably to this day, I get emotional every time I hear In This Bed I Scream because the lyrics and the groove touch me in such a way to this day. And also what his friend, mother, lover, wife, auntie, sister down the street, girlfriend, chick, I mean, you know that song, you know, sister, mother, that one for me is just, that's one of the few songs, that and Let's Have a Baby are the few songs that I'm gonna even attempt to move up close to adore. I mean, Prince was in his R&B. You're right. He was in his R&B bag. And when he gets to friend, mother, lover, auntie, girl around the street, and Let's Have a Baby, those 2 songs, but I'm with you. So for me, it was Chaos and Disorder that balanced the really clean, kind of pristine R&B of Emancipation. I'll say that.
I mean, that's what I listened to Chaos and Disorder. Like I mean, and there were certain songs that I love on Emancipation, like White Mansion, I think is really, really brilliant. I mean, there's a lot of other tunes on there as well. But in terms of the covers, I could have just like, first of all, the covers, I was like, that was like non-starter for me right there. Like covers, it's like, what is going on?
I see it the same way you see it around the world today. I thought that was Prince being innovative because I wouldn't have never expected him to do that. And I actually like one of my favorite songs off that album is the La 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 La. I just thought he killed that. I love his vocals. I just thought it's brilliant that
covers don't bother you, do they? Covers don't bother you.
If they're done dope, no.
See, I'm like propped up. I hate covers. Like I just.
Oh no, I love them. I mean, like, if they're done right.
Like when I get a Prince, you know, again, I know I say this too much, but I tell people I live my life like the back of a Prince album cover. I don't need you, right? I tell people that. And I'm being facetious when I say that, but
I think you have to remember though, Prince essentially started out as a cover artist. Like you can hear, obviously, he's not going to be as good as he is without knowing a deep history of music.
Oh, no doubt,
So to me, that's just his natural state, in my opinion. Like he obviously knows music very well and he can play it if he adds his spin to it. I don't think his covers to me elevate the songs. What was the song? It was a song that was hot at the time. Was God One of Us or something?
One of Us. What if God was one of us?
I never really listened to that song who had made it. But when I heard that Prince one, I used to rock that. Like I was like, this is dope. Like it made the song dope to me. Like I was like, yeah. But I can understand why people like don't like Prince doing covers. I get that, but I just feel like to me, that's a part of Prince. Like I mean, I would think if it was him without having to worry about selling stuff and you know, sort of the stigma of doing covers from his fans' opinion, I would think he probably would always do the songs that he loves. I mean, you can go back to old after shows and Purple Rain era and stuff. He's doing Sly stuff and all that. Like,
Yeah, no,
he always did covers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For the after show, covers are good. I don't mind covers in the after show. I just don't want to cover on a Prince album.
that's
I
the
dig
point
it. I
I'm
can
trying
understand
to
it.
make. So here's the deal. We knew. I'm going to put up Barbara's comment.
And I'm going to answer that after you go.
We knew that Prince had a vault at this time, and we knew there are a gazillion songs we hadn't heard and will probably never ever hear. And I would not want a Prince song on an album to be replaced with somebody else's song when he's sitting on all these songs.
He's probably sitting on all the covers too, though. That's my point. I
No,
don't think he's restricting himself to what kind
no,
of
but the point I'm trying to say, as a listener,
sure.
I want new Prince songs. I'm talking
dig
about, like, you can play whatever you want in the rehearsals and the concerts. Cover. You could do a whole show on covers. I don't care. But on the recorded album that I am taking home with me, that I've spent my money on, I want to hear a Prince song. Like, that's what I want.
I feel you. I just don't think Prince gonna be the last artist you're gonna put in that box, though.
And
Like,
so let me answer Barbara Wise's question this way, and it's a two-part answer. She said, D'Angelo and Celie, do you dislike covers from other artists or just Prince covers? So it's a two-part answer, and it's yes and yes. So the reason I actually never got into hip hop, like the number one reason I never got into hip hop, because I could never be convinced that sampling was a real thing. I'm a die in the minority of that. I know I'm in the minority. I'm not giving you credit for somebody else's baseline. Like, I just can't. I couldn't accept that these people were being held up as musical creatives, when in my mind, all you were doing was cut and pasting somebody else's music on to your record. So that's why I could never get into hip hop, because I couldn't accept sampling. Now, the reason I couldn't accept sampling, because I never liked covers. So I actually have an article that I wrote years ago, and it said, of the hundreds of thousands of millions of covers ever been done, only 30 of them don't waste our time. That's how anti-covers I am. So I have never liked covers because, and I'm an old blues cat, and all they do in the blues is cover each other's music.
I was about to say,
And as an old blues cat, I would go and find the original, because I wanted to know when I buy your record, I want you. I don't want no track master. I don't want no something. I want to know what's your vision. The one thing that I love, just like when Prof Duff loved Prince as an innovator, what I loved about Prince is when we got a Prince record, we was getting somebody different. He was amalgamating all of those sounds into something new. And so I just grew to love that when I buy your album, I don't want somebody else's songs. I want you. So yeah, so Barbara, why I'm in the minority. I don't like sampling and I don't like covers, but I understand I'm in the minority, and I understand that now that hip hop is doing this 50-year victory lap, all I can do is let hip hop do his 50-year victory lap and still say, yeah, well, you got 50 years, I'll sample it. That's it. I'll shut up.
I respect both of your point of views, and I totally understand them. The only thing I could say is one sampling is an art. It's very difficult. I would say sampling is from the point of view of a person who loves music so much and is not constrained to any rules. The Bomb Squad, that's fantastic work, and in terms of covers, I think, I just feel like music, in my opinion, music is to be felt, as opposed to critiqued in the sense of it has to do this sort of thing. I mean, you can certainly do that, but I think all great artists are going from the feeling of music, and whether it was a song that was written 100 years ago that still resonates with our psyche today, it's going to work. you know, it doesn't matter if it was old or new. Does it feel right to you? And I think Prince's music fits into that category. It fit into that category in real time for Prince. Oh shit, because people like Shaka Khan covered his work early on, and I would dare say improved it. uh, and when I think of "I Feel for You," I love the Prince verse, but that Shaka Khan with Stevie Wonder and Melly Mel, it's fantastic. That's some great, like, let me take this young artist's song and let me throw in the legends. Let me throw on what's coming next and mix it all up and blow it out the water with respect to where it came from. And it doesn't change the essence of the song. It just enhanced it. And I think all great covers of songs do that. Lean on Me. I love the original, but in my mind, I'm thinking of Club Nouveau. That, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't dislike it because it's a cover. That is a classic black an American song that resonates with us. And it don't matter where it came from.
Or was it the movie? Was it the movie? Was it the movie? I'm messing with you.
Movie too, yeah, but I'm just saying,
I'm
like,
messing with you. I'm messing with you.
that message, lean on me. That's us. Like, I don't care where it came. So I get all that, but I just think music is beyond the constraints of the marketplace or even tastes for that matter. You know what I'm saying? Just the hemming of that ain't got to be new. I feel that, I understand, and that makes me feel safe when I hear that, and I understand the struggle behind that, right? So, but at the same point, viewing him in the lens of an artist and what the expectations of a listener may have for that, I respect that too, because I do that with Prince as well with certain things. I didn't want him to touch hip hop for a long time, but I had to realize, now that's not my problem. That is my problem. That ain't the artist's problem. He can do whatever the hell he wants to do. That's what he felt. He felt to get into rap. Great. You know what I'm saying? He'll figure it out. And I have to either like it or move on to something else. But so artist is gonna be an artist. That's the point of being an art. That's not supposed to be, it's I would imagine for most musicians, they're based off of something that they love. Like they've built their whole. D'Angelo's a perfect example of that. Like, he bleeds Prince. He cannot not sound like Prince, Marvin, Clinton, and all that stuff. And his covers of songs are remarkable because it's still D'Angelo, but he got the essence. He got the feeling of them old. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, oh man, I love that. I resonate with that. It still works for us. We're still on that same time. You know what I'm saying? It's a certain rhythm. We still on that rhythm. They just added a deeper bass drum and it sounds more booming, but it's the same rhythm we've always listened to. That church music that Prince is doing or incorporating his music, it's the same church music they was playing when he was a kid. He's just reinterpreting it to us. That's all. But it's the same. When you hear Adore, there's a reason why we love Adore.
Yep.
And it's deeper than the sound of his voice because it's coming from that same. You can feel that. I can imagine being in a church. My grandma, y'all kids sit down there. And they're like, oh yes, Lord. I get it. But yeah, I don't have a problem with. I have a problem with people that don't put in the work and just easily grab something without they adding nothing to it. I agree on that wholeheartedly. But sampling to itself, that's an art form. That's the scientists and the artists, and they know what makes the people move. You know what I'm saying? And they flipping stuff from. That's probably, in my opinion, sampling is one of the dopest art forms we done ever created. Because it was our back was against the wall, and we couldn't use none of the instruments that they said are the quote unquote real instruments. But we said, guess what? We're gonna make some dope shit. We don't stop. You know what I'm saying? We don't never stop. We'll take our grandfather's shit and flip it and change the world. But anyway, that's my rant.
I agree with you on that. That's the one prop I've given hip hop is that it is an example of African genius because they took an archival machine and turned it into a music production machine, right? The record player is an archival machine. And they took that archival machine and turned it into a music production. And so that is why I always say that that's the one thing, as much as I don't like sampling, I have to give them credit for this. Not just end on something that AJ132 said. And maybe that's why I never got into sampling. Stetsasonic had a song where they said, and I can't remember the exact line, but such and such. James Brown was old until Eric B came out with You Know You Got Soul. And that shit pissed me off because I was like, old to who? Wasn't old to me. So that's where I enter on sampling. When I heard that Stetsasonic line, like basically to me, they were saying, we brought James Brown back. I was like, you didn't bring him back to me.
But
so
they did though.
And I get he may have brought him back to another generation. And I guess that's where it's generational for others. That a line that was meant to praise people, it was just really offensive to me that somehow, you know, and again, the truth is the truth. Some people learned about James Brown through that. Just for me, the minute I heard that song, I was like, well, this art form is clearly not for me because I always knew who James Brown was. All right, I'll shut up.
We sample, beat you, sue, and try to fight us. Man, you'll be home with arthritis. If we didn't revive and bring back alive old beats that we appreciated, you wouldn't survive. That's my Big Daddy Kane stuff. He speak on
that. And I love this comment from Kim. Sheila E, you was an old young man.
I was 18 years old hating on hip hop. I was 18 years old. That damn hip hop is killing black music. I was 18.
Lord.
All right. So we're at the end of What Did Prince Do This Week? Well, we still have our Saturday salon, but I'll go super quick because we're almost at the top of the hour and we are going to end at the top of the hour. So I'm going to flip through this really quickly. If you're in New York City today, and that's the reason why I got on my Record Stove shirt, there is a Brooklyn Flea Record Fair today from 11 to 6. So as soon as I'm off of this, I'm headed to hopefully buy some records. We'll see. And then Layla Hathaway is touring. She's really doing it this week. She's going to be in the Detroit, for those who don't know, on the 21st, in Chi-Town, Chicago, 22nd, New York City, 25th, DC, 26th, and the ATL on the 27th. So she is going to be touring up a storm next week. If you have an opportunity to see Layla, if you've never seen her, she has a fantastic show. Also, if you've never heard of Layla, you should listen to her. Her father is Donny Hathaway, but Layla's voice is very distinct. No one sounds like Layla. So I would definitely check her out. And then I'm waiting on Bilal's new album. The single Sunshine I've been playing a lot. And I can't wait for that to be released. And Corey Henry is going to be in Monterey, California on the 28th. And it was just announced that Robert Glasper is having his annual Robtober at the Blue Note. He's going to be there from October the 2nd to November 3rd every night with different folks. Sometimes it's going to be Questlove. Sometimes it's going to be Common. Sometimes it's going to be Andra Day. Sometimes it's going to be Stokely for the Prince people. Sometimes it's going to be Little Brother for the hip hop folks. Sometimes it's going to be Chris Dave for the drummers, Derek Hodge, and Isaiah Sharkey for the guitarists. So it's going to be amazing. Yeah, I got that. Dr. Catrice Austin is in my deck. It's just
his podcast is excellent too.
But Robert?
Yeah.
I didn't know he had a podcast.
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm not.
I'm sure he does. It's just
I'm not confusing him with someone else because I think I saw him interview Layla Hathaway and I saw him interview, at least I'm hoping that's Robert Glasper. I'm not confusing him with somebody else. If somebody could check that for me, now that you, but at least I thought it was Robert Glasper. But his podcast is really great. So if you get a chance, check out the Robert Glasper podcast. It's called Front Porch? It's something.
I love it. Front Porch is a great name.
Let me stop. Let me keep talking. Let me see if I can search for it.
Okay. And if you don't know who Robert Glasper is, you should definitely do your Googles and check him out. And actually, he was Bilal's first musical director because they went to school together. So he used to be in Bilal's band way back. But Robert Glasper is an amazing musician in his own right. And Michelle Indegeocello is going to be at NJ in October. And Bilal is going to be going on his Adjust Brightness tour, because that's the name of the album, Adjust Brightness. And he's going to be in New York performing on October 10th. And if you're in Philly, on October 8th at World Cafe Live, which is my favorite venue in Philly for sound. The sound is amazing at World Cafe Live. And Andre 3000 is going to be at BAM. Andre 3000 is going to be at the Fox Theater, which is, if you're in Atlanta, you should definitely go see Andre, number one. And number two, seeing him at the Fox would be extraordinary. I even thought about buying a plane ticket to see Andre in the Fox Theater, even though I'm already going to see him. But I instead bought a ticket for this, so I can't be in two places at once, which is this tribute to funk, which will be Bilal, Vernon Reid, Nona Hendrix, Christian McBride, and George Clinton, and Savion Glover. So I'm really looking forward to this. And then this, Corey Henry just announced he's doing a week essentially at the Blue Note in December 3rd through 8th. And again, if you go to the website and you, which let me show you guys, is bookclub.polishstyle.com, and you go all the way down to the bottom where the slideshow is. If you click on any of the slides, it will take you places. So this will take you to the Blue Note and things of that nature, but you can also do your Googles, as Michael Dean would say. And in the purple world, we just want to again send out blessings. And if you haven't contributed to Jeremiah Freed's GoFundMe, please do so. And we want to send him nothing but good vibe, good spirits, and hope that he can beat this. We know he can. So make sure you send him any love and appreciation. And, it's very costly with medical and things of that nature. So I hope that you'll support. And then there's also on Friday is finally going to be the Foundation charity event at Paisley Park with Morris Day, Sheila E, and New Power Generation. I hope some of you are going so you can report back and let us know how it was. And this is the playlist for this week. And as I told you, there's a gazillion versions of the ladder throughout the years. I'm really, really excited about the rehearsal from St. Paul. It's like over an hour, and it's from October 31st, 1984. If you haven't heard that, I would highly recommend that you do. And next week, we are going to be reading pages 414 to 421 in Duane's book. And we're going to be talking about Prince's sold out show in Cincinnati, Ohio at Bogart's, but we'll talk more about it next week because it's a little bit more than just Prince. And then on Wednesday,
I got another music concert y'all got to get up on too, man. These are my guys.
All right.
I'm gonna go to this.
Okay.
The Dog Pound.
Okay.
Y'all can see
Wait,
that.
it's blurred.
Hold on, we're gonna get it right.
There we go.
It's backwards. But they're going on the west. They're coming to Seattle. I'm there. I'm so there. I've never seen them live, but I'm a huge Daz fan.
All right.
One of the illest producers, period. He got boatloads of albums.
Yes.
Probably 10, 13 albums or something. Just came out with some. But yeah, if you up on that, you ain't never seen these brothers. They old now. But yeah. Dog Pound is there. Dog Pound gang, DPG all day. There you go.
Love it. I love that. And then also, let's see, there was something in here I wanted to. Oh yeah, and yes, Andre 3000 is going to be. So here's the thing. I was thinking about this morning. We could go on and on about who's performing, and I also have to make sure that I don't go too crazy because that list could get really, really long. So this is definitely a curated list. And for the artists, sometimes I don't talk about all of their performances just for the sake of time. But I do hope that you will support particularly Andre 3000, who's very near and dear to me. And so I'll just say that. And then, yes, Karan, October is serious. It's really hitting my pocketbook, to be honest. It's really, because it's so expensive nowadays to go see concerts. compared to the 1984 ticket prices when it was just $7.50. I was looking at a Purple Rain ticket earlier today, and it was less than $20. And I was like, oh my God, like that was the day. Yeah.
Low key back then, that was expensive to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot.
$20. They want $20 whole dollars. In
Yeah.
fact, I went the night we went to go see Under the Cherry Moon was the night they added 50 cents to the ticket. The movie used to be $5 and it was $5.50. And didn't nobody have the 50 cents. And this is a true story.
Oh
That people in line, this is why I fell in love. And again, I I'm sure they did this elsewhere with being in the hood. This is another time I fell in love with black people because I promise people are passing 50 cents back and forth through the line, giving people that. Because most you show up at the movies with your date, $5 is $10. You got $10. That's all you got. You ain't getting no popcorn. You ain't getting no drink. So I remember people passing 50 cents up and down the line for people who didn't have the $5.50. So we thought 50 cents. We thought them people had lost their damn mind. 50 cents.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. So in addition to this Bogart show, we're also going to be talking about the release of the Purple Rain single next week. And then we're also going to be talking about the basic tracking of a song I've been talking about today, Tambourine. It's like one of my favorites. I really love that Chris Rock named his show or had it playing when he came on during his last tour. I thought it was pretty brilliant. And then we're going to talk about overdubs and vocals for Our Destiny, and then some possible overdubs for Roadhouse Garden, All Day, All Night. All Day, All Night being one of my top of the tops of Prince tunes. And then on Friday, we're going to talk about Our Destiny. And then on Friday, the 7-inch edit of the extended version of Sex Shooter. And then we're also going to talk about the Jill Jones vocals of Our Destiny. So we're going to be talking about a lot next week compared to this week. So we are at the end of our journey, and I can't.
One last thing.
Yeah.
The Robert Glasper podcast is named after his album. It's called Black Radio Podcast.
Ah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And if you haven't heard Black Radio, and there's like a couple of volumes of that album, you should definitely listen to those.
Didn't Full Force have a song called Black Radio? I
don't know.
I feel like I remember that. But anyway,
Maxine, take us on out.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a great time today. We got into a lot of interesting conversations about some good stuff. Always a pleasure. Seeley in the house joining us. Always a pleasure to be here with D'Angela. And it is exceptionally a pleasure to be here with you at home or wherever you're at watching us, whether it's on your phone, your TV, computer, tablet, laptop. I love it that you're there. Salute to everybody around the world. We're going to see you next week. But until then, work it like a job. Peace.